Hello, Aries, and welcome to Indigo Rising Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I really do hope you're having a great day. I feel like we're starting to feel spring. I've got birds chirping outside, and even though it's not sunny, it's very rainy and kind of gloomy here today, but it's like, oh, it's a little warmer. I'm not freezing to death. So, are we getting through winter? And I hope you are too. I hope if you also live somewhere cold that, we're getting there, getting towards the end of it there. And if you're somewhere warm, we're all very jealous of you. I'll just say that. This will be your weekly reading, Aries, for the week of March 8th through the 14th. And during that time, we bring the waning gibbous. We're coming off that full moon, that eclipse energy from last week. And so this is a time for self-reflection and rebirth. We then move into that third quarter. And of course, that's a time when we're trying to wrap up those things that we've started during the last new moon. So we're reflecting and we're, trying to achieve those things and also starting to make plans for what we might do on the next new moon. So then the waning crescent, of course, is more stability and calm. And again, we're just being like growth oriented, being thoughtful, and just really reflecting. That's self-reflection is really the name of the game this week. So keep those moon energies in mind as we move through the week. This will be an intuitive general reading for energies that you may or may not encounter this week, Aries. So as always, please take what resonates and leave what doesn't on the table for someone else. And your overall message for this reading is to step out of your comfort zone. All right, let's see what the Aries Collective has going on for the week. As I'm shuffling the tarot, my fun weekly reminder this week is that you get out into nature, and maybe that's a good time to do some of that self-reflection. Again, it's if you're in the colder environments, it's getting a little warmer. I know I've got a couple days this week, and I thought, oh, might be time to get outside. Days where we're in the 70s, so I'm very excited about that. I'm sorry, weather. You get older, it's the little things that excite you, like really good weather. You can get out and see birds and just remember what the outdoors really feels like to be in it for a while. It's just been so cold. So get out in nature this week. Take a walk if you can. Find a beautiful park or an area that has a lovely view. If you're somewhere near water, water is very healing and very reflective. Of course, if you've ever sat on the ocean shore, you know that you just sit there and just get lost in those waves and think. So just that is my fun weekly reminder, is that you just, really enjoy the miracle of nature. Close your eyes, really connect, and also let that be a time of self-reflection for you. So all right, I will stop babbling, Aries, I swear. Let's get into this reading. March 8th through the 14th. Step out of your comfort zone. Your present energy right now, well, there's why, is because you're just not real thrilled right now, it looks like, with what the universe is offering you. This is like kind of our card of, the Four of Cups is about dissatisfaction. It's like the universe is offering you things and you're like, nah, it's not really what I was looking for. So if you're feeling a little bit dissatisfied just in general, and this can be personally, this can just be inside, that you're like, ugh, I've got to motivate myself to do some more things. This is that time of self-reflection, and stop and make that list. What is it that you do think you need to change? What's going to make you feel more satisfied about your life? We all should be doing this constantly. This is almost like a monthly thing, again, with the new moon. Instead of New Year's, new moon, every cycle, we get to make little changes and adjustments. So if you can take on that attitude, and try to figure out what is it right now that you're most dissatisfied about with your life, this is a great time for that kind of reflection, so that you can think about at least one thing to change when that new moon comes up. All right, in your current situation right now is the Knight of Cups. So, it looks like you're also being pretty open with your emotions, even though you're dissatisfied, and this might just be letting people around I'm just not happy. And be open with people around you. A lot of people, offer tips, and that, maybe it's why you're at a tarot reading. You might be looking for information like, why am I so dissatisfied? Why can't I just seem to get a grip? And, I'm one of those people, I'm a list maker. So making a list of things, just really taking a hard look, and then don't try to tackle all of those things at once. Just pick the most important one and try to tackle that one thing. And even if it takes you a few different cycles, a few of those new moon cycles to get through tackling that one thing, then you move on to the next thing. So it's a good way. It's a nice slow way, but change happens slowly over time, right? At the root of your situation, it could be job related here because we've got the Eight of Pentacles. So it could be something related to your work. Um, that's at the root of this. So you might just be dissatisfied with, and a lot of people, that's not uncommon for you to look around. Even if you've just arrived at a place or you've been there a few years, or if you've been there 20 years, sometimes you look around and it's like, oh, I just can't do this another day. So you need to can you make changes? Is it something that, do you feel kind of stuck in a thing? Some people do kind of get stuck when it comes to things like retirement, different, those are some big, big life decisions. But if you're feeling like you're stuck and you're not satisfied, and there's a way that you can change that, even if it's just within your job, maybe you're going to move from one department to another, or maybe you've tackled this department and you're interested over here. There's different ways that you can move or find ways to make your job more satisfying if you're feeling less satisfied as well. In your recent past here is the Page of Cups. So, you come into this with kind of a sense of humor and kind of a light heart, a lot of cups going on. So I feel like there's a lot of feelings happening when it comes to whatever this situation is for you. And again, your overall message was to step out of your comfort zone. Sometimes you just have to step out and do the things a little differently, but you're coming into this with a good attitude. I feel like this might just be a realization that's hitting you, and maybe it's crept up on you over time. But, stepping out of your comfort zone is something that you're just going to have to do to make that kind of change. And what is that for you? That's going to be different for each Aries. What is on your mind this week is that you are done with this Ten of Swords. You're just done. And part of me is going to say, let me move that card back there. Part of me is going to say, maybe this is also, and I'm not going to say completely temporary, but sometimes you just need a break. Sometimes it's just about a vacation. Have you given yourself a break lately? Is it time for just a little weekend away or something where you can just get away? There might just be one specific thing that's kind of really getting at you, but getting out of your comfort zone could also, like I said, be a weekend away, a vacation, something, just a break from it, so that you can go back and look at it with fresh eyes. So maybe think about that as well. What is just ahead of you this week as things are happening very rapidly here. Now we've also got two eights on the table. Things are coming in quickly for you, and this could just be these thoughts and ideas that you're done. And maybe you are having ideas about, can I change my path? Can I, what changes can I make? And you might be getting a lot of those ideas. To take a note of those, and some of those might not be realistic, and that's okay. But take a note. And so, as you're having those rapid fire ideas again during this time of self reflection, take note of all those things. There might be a few things in there that you can take away and use, even if some of them seem really cockamamie. One of these ideas might be, well, I'm just gonna quit my job and sell everything and move to an island. So maybe that's not completely realistic, but anyway, we're going to manifest ourselves better to a place where we just feel more satisfied within our life, right? In your advice position here is the Ace of Cups. So continue with that open heart. And maybe, the advice is here to follow your heart. What is it that your heart is into? What is it that you really, really care about the most? And can you let some other things fall by the wayside if you just really focus in on those things you care about? I mean, look at all of these cups. It's this dissatisfaction, but you're so open. You have such a good attitude that, sometimes it's just about making that assessment. What are the things that are the most important to you? And look around and see, are you serving those things? And are you serving things that aren't that important? Is really the evaluation you probably do need to make. What is beyond your control this week, Aries, is the Ace of Pentacles. So a lot of aces. Okay, Ace of Pentacles is a new financial opportunity. There might be something that does come in for you after all of this thinking and all of these things that are coming in, and it looks like it is beyond your control. Maybe it's one of these ideas that you have that, hey, maybe I can break out and leave this place and become a consultant. Can you do that? Just make sure that you're making realistic changes and realistic decisions, before you make a really big decision. I'm always very cautious though. Look, Aries, you guys, you're way more competitive probably than I am. But to me, I always err on the side of caution, but you've got some new financial opportunity coming in that, I almost feel like it's like a sigh of relief, like, oh, this thing just came at the nick of time because of my dissatisfaction. And maybe you take that new financial opportunity and turn it into something that's going to make you more satisfied within a year or so, right? Okay. What is your secret desire or what are you trying to avoid? Look at this ace. You've got an ace of swords. Also, four aces. I've never seen this, or three in a reading just stacked up in this side is insane. If I pull the other one, I'm going to lose my mind. Ace of Swords is about having an aha moment and a mental breakthrough, and and that's what I'm talking about using this week as self-reflection. There's something you are done with, you're dissatisfied. Reflect on what those things are and what specific things you can make. And again, maybe in these swords, when I said about taking notes, one of these is a real aha moment, and it's not selling everything and moving to an island, right? It's something that's more realistic. And this new money, this new financial thing coming in, it definitely helps with that idea. So can you turn that into something and mold that into something that's going to push you forward and just get land you in a different place in a year or two from now? So change happens slowly for you. It might even happen quicker. Look at all those aces. I can't even believe that. In your outcome position, look at this. So this is why I love tarot so much. This is a new journey. You set off on this new journey and almost this perfect story. I mean, look where you start off. You start off at dissatisfied. You come in with a good sense of yourself and a good sense of humor. Like you're trying really hard and you feel like you're making those right moves and you're just dissatisfied. But look at all these things that happen for you, all of these new things that start to come in. And what does it do because of your positive attitude or really assessing these things and what they mean to you? What are you doing things that you really care about? This new money that comes in, this big idea that you have, and you're off on a new journey. You can't, it's just almost like a perfect tarot reading, honestly. I've never seen anything. This is amazing. This whole section, all of it is really amazing. What is hidden from you this week? Hidden from you is feeling like you against the world. I don't think you care what anybody thinks this week. I feel like you are dead focused on changing, making a change. You want to make a change, and maybe look, it's a good time. We are approaching this new moon coming up. That is a really good time to start to make that first step towards change. So whatever that change happens to be for you, really kind of stay focused on that moon energy if that's something that you work with. I know for me that's something I can tell you. I can almost tell you what the moon is doing if I didn't, if I just had my eyes closed. That's just the way it rules my life. So this is really amazing. So step out of your comfort zone. Look at that fool. That fool does not care about the zone he's in. The fool is going to take off on this new journey, take that leap of faith, take that next step. And I think that's really, really exciting. I'm excited for you, Aries. Let's get you a final message here from the Soul Oracle deck. Final message for Aries as they take off into this new journey. And I feel like you're so supported by the universe right now that like each step, it's that little itch of dissatisfaction right at the beginning that kind of, just makes you look around. We are in control. We make changes. So, if you need to make changes in your life, you just have to do it. You have to and just start with that first step. So, final message for you is the creative no, which I love that card. This is one of those, think about it, think about those things again that your heart is really in. If there's something you are being offered, you can creatively just say no to it. Sometimes it's hard to say no. You'll find a very creative way to do that. So, and sometimes we're just spread too thin. So find that way to have that creative no. Even if sometimes it means having something lined up beforehand, if you know something's coming at you and you can kind of design an answer to say no if you spread yourself too thin and you tend to be too giving, because it looks like it's a time where you just need to focus on yourself. So, all right, what does Aries need to do in the way of self-care? Self-care for Aries this week, and the card that you get is the card called Self-Worth. And this card says, why settle for crumbs when you deserve a whole meal? Why settle for crumbs? Why? I don't know. I don't think you should be settling for crumbs. And I think this reading really lays it out there. Don't settle for crumbs. If you're unhappy, if you're dissatisfied with whatever's going on in your life right now, with whatever the universe is offering you, only you can really turn around and make those changes and give yourself the time to self-reflect so that these ideas and these things can come in. And all of a sudden you've just got, it's like a light bulb over your head. Here's a new idea that comes in. You've got the money sitting there to do this thing. Your heart's in it, and it's just time to do it. And you're moving forward in it, and it looks like a very emotionally balanced way. I mean, I don't feel like I don't feel like this is kind of a crazy jump into this new thing. I feel like this also just, it's a lot of emotional balance. So, Aries, thank you so much for being here. I really do hope there was something in this reading that you can take away and use. Don't forget, step out of your comfort zone this week, but also just kind of evaluate things. I think it's a really good time for you to evaluate so that you can take off on the right path with this new journey that you're going to begin. So, once again, thank you so much for being here. If you're comfortable sharing, of course, drop me a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. If you have questions about this reading, I'd be happy to answer those for you. Also, hitting like and subscribe really supports and helps my channel. And I, of course, appreciate that so much. So thank you so much for doing that in advance. And I will see you next week, Aries. Bye-bye.